So this is like, we're still in like hello introduction. And my name is Jaya Carson-Meyer-Bone. I know Oliver, or may know from, or Oliver from since high school, so over 20 years. And he consented to an interview. And he was like, I think I have a guy for you that might like talking in a sort of, open-ended way. And, like he can handle this. I think he's the guy. So, and so I'll tell you what the project is. I've been calling it a magazine, but I think I have to start calling it a video project because there's no paper planned anytime soon, like maybe in a couple of years, but I'm not aiming for paper right now. What I'm aiming for is to have these interviews, which are intended to be, fun, light, easy, and short. Well, actually, I won't say light, because even though we're dealing with the frame of the interview is just like 2 questions, basically. What I'm most interested in is the space of listening. So like really how, I know nothing about cartography or geography, but I have a sincere curiosity. And what happens when we talk and you can share as fully as you wish from yourself. So like your own, what it means to you or how you came to geography. Is that your discipline? Are you a cartographer as well, or is there another?
That's division? My training in cartography.
You trained in cartography?
Yeah.
And is that your work? Is that where you're situated?
That's what I've been doing, applying those skills down here at the city of Calgary for 27 years now, yeah.
And what do you, like, if someone were to be like, what is cartography, what would you say to them?
Cartography is the art and science of communicating geographical data in a hopefully meaningful way to the reader. And of course, that all depends on who your audience is and what you have to show. If it's really highly technical and your audience is highly technical, well, then you can kind of be really detailed. If you're talking about the general public, about technical detail-y stuff, you kind of have to tone that down and kind of bring out the key message or what it is you're trying to get across to a more general audience.
That's so perfect. I can see exactly why Pablo was like, this is the guy you want to talk to, because I sense the poetry of your work. I can see how it speaks to you in a way that, like, that's what calls to you from this discipline. And beautiful. So my like curiosity was not really understanding how the information of longitude and latitude has been communicated over time. Like, we have very old maps, and those are still the same lines that were there for hundreds of years, right?
Yeah.
And like, we take it for granted, picking up a phone and just, you can, to how many, do you call them decimal places? Like very, very, very specific coordinates anyone can have just in this moment. But like, and I imagine it's satellite information, but there's just like a big question mark in my mind of like, what is actually happening? Where does that information, is it like with time where there's like a big clock somewhere telling you what a second is? Or how do you standardize a thing like that? Where does it come from?
Wow. Boy, we're going all the way back to Greenwich now.
Or steer us where you're interested. Like because what I heard you say is the particular kinds of information and who you're speaking to determine what a map has to be, because it's an act of communication. And And I heard in that sort of that, like, what do you prefer working for a highly technical audience where you're getting right into like jargon and minutia, or do you like to work with an accessibility lens and make it real, like, so what I call something so simple it reads itself to you. You can't not read it. You look at it and you get it right away because it's so plain.
Well, I'm in a bit of a strange world in that I work with planners and other people in the city, like different departments, parks, transportation, water services, transit, and those are all highly technical people and have, and they're into the nitty gritty. Yet, sometimes I'm not too sure who my audience is, because these documents go out to the general public. Like, we'll come up with an area redevelopment plan. It gets published, it's online, the public can view it. The public had input into the plan. Sometimes there's a lot of unhappiness because, well, I brought that idea and you didn't use it. And a lot of that happens, but yeah, so I think my final audience ultimately is the general public, because that's who we have to kind of get to buy in and accept these plans. And but there's a lot of technical information there. I try to work with the planners to say, whoa, too much on this one. We need to break this out into another map, because you just can't overlay so much stuff on one map without really considering a very good design. But even then, there's a limit to how much information we can put on a given map at a given scale. Back in the old days of printing, that'd be limited to, what is the final print resolution and that kind of thing. And the scale and that. The digital world has enabled a lot of highly accurate data. But my training was a bit more older school. I was at the verge of older manual skills kind of going away, and then the digital kind of taking off. But a lot of those manual skills include a lot of what I'll call generalization. Just by, I take a big base map, I would have reduced it using a camera to a small negative, and I would have been taking a scribing device. And okay, well, I can't hit every nook and cranny along the coastline of Labrador now, because that bay is as thick as my line. And so the generalization kind of would naturally happen in the old process, where now I think now there's a lot of distracting detail in a lot of mapping, in that all these little nooks and crannies along the river, yeah, they're really good at 1 to 1,000 scale, where we're looking at really detail. But at 1 to 20,000 scale, all those little nooks and crannies just kind of look like a wavy line. Whereas, in the old days, we would have kind of taken the scriber and kind of smoothed out some of that stuff. So it wasn't so, the teachers would say eye distracting, kind of like detail that's distracting away from the message. Just because it's
eye
like,
distracting?
oh, what is that?
Did you say eye distracting, like an eye?
Yes, yeah, distracting to the eye.
Yeah.
And the mind, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole visual process of seeing the map. It comes into our eyes. The visual thing happens, then it hits our brain, and then we, take that information in and come up with this is what I think it is to me, I guess, because we all see a little differently. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is like a different meaning-making process for every different viewer, especially if they're from these different disciplines. I really like the moment of someone being like, "Why isn't my idea in there?" That's really funny.
Yeah.
Like what would be an example of something that someone would want to see their personal touch represented in the map? Is that like?
Well, maybe not in the map, but like a planning idea, like, oh, that park needs that empty lot, which people perceived as a park for 20 years. Well, we thought, why are you putting a development there? It's a park. You might run into certain, kind of conflicts like that where people thought it was one thing, but it actually wasn't. It was just an empty lot.
Yeah.
And now it's disappearing. Yeah. I don't have a lot of contact with the public, so I don't have a lot of examples of those kinds of things, but I hear about them.
Yeah. It's interesting that your stakeholders are potentially people that you're not interacting with directly, but that you have to think of them because they're the user, the end user, or whatever.
Yeah, like a few years ago, I kind of got interested in going out to these open houses that the planners hold for the public, just to kind of to see what my maps are looking like in their environment that they're being used in.
Yeah.
Is it working? Is the size good? Or can people read the text, from 6 feet away, rather than have to go right up and look at it all the time. Sorry about my phone.
It always happens. Amazing. This is really useful, and I'm really I'm more all over the place because I have so little familiarity with the discipline, but a number of things that you said are so are what I'm trying to really hone in on, which are also like the jargon of a discipline, because I love the way that particular words kind of unlock a whole orientation. So like the way that you use generalization a number of times, like that means very different things in different disciplines, but I can see how it has to do with resolution in mapping, and that's a really key issue. Like, where do you cut the detail? Where have you eliminated the function of the map by overgeneralizing, which a more, like a human rights perspective has that too, right? Like when you start making generalizations,
yeah,
you miss the nuance, the detail, and the humanity sometimes of the situation, which for the coast of Labrador is very real. Like each of those little nooks, people live there or don't live there, maybe.
Yeah.
Those are some craggy ass rocks over there.
Right.
And I also see your orientation like from the mapping side. One of the things that Pablo talked a little bit about was the connection to the land. Like actually, you have the image, you have the representation, you have the resolution or the generalization. Do you personally like sort of always hold an image of the actual on the ground stuff, or do you feel like you flip back between them, or how does that exist for you?
Yeah, I'm not very much out in the field, so I'll reference like an aerial photograph for some ground truth, to make sure that things are lining up, or if I need it as an enhancement to help me locate something that they want to see on the map that they're talking about. Yeah, I'll use the aerial photo for those kinds of things, and that'd be my kind of a snapshot in time of ground truth, because the photo will get out of date at some point, and we'll get new photography next year.
Awesome. So I think I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about either resolution or generalization, but I think that's the key word that I'm going to use to sort of orient on this interview, if that's okay.
Sure. I think one has to be careful that the generalization does not take away the meaning, that, you know, the important meaning. Like, it's fine to kind of water things down a little bit, but if we go too far, well, then the message doesn't get across or comes across in the wrong way. So we have to be careful. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. Yeah.
Well, that feels very complete. I really, I'm really grateful that you're willing to try this out and share. And I really, part of what's exciting to me about interviewing people in disciplines where I have no expertise is just connecting to the wonderment, like the sort of discovery of it, and you know what's possible when we have a feeling of, you know, respect and admiration for things that are other than our day to day. And I think like it's very human. I'm making lots of personal connections. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I'm a school teacher, and I was like, once my principal wouldn't let me call my room this because of how it was on the map, and you know, like I have all these sort of like connections now that I feel like I have a bit more context and understanding of how it might fit into your discipline, and the pleasure of learning. That's what I'm in for, is like the pleasure of people and learning. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And so part of the contract of Dialexicon is that once you've been interviewed, you can do a Dialexicon interview, and I plan to make a sort of short video that's really just like how to, so that you can hear from my side where my orientations are, and part of it is that, you know, a short interview with anyone from your idol to your neighbor can support relationship and have humans know other humans better.
Yeah.
Well, take care. Thank you again for your time, and feel free to email me anything. And I feel like I first got to know you a little bit when you put those exclamation marks in. I was like, here's the enthusiasm. I like this. This is good.
Right on. Yeah, if you want to talk further another time, I'm game.
Thank you so much. And what I'll be doing is sending you a link to it posted on YouTube, but I'll give you a week to, if you want to look at it or think about it. I'll schedule it to post within a week, and if I don't hear from you, it'll go live. If I do, then the interview is yours. I never want someone to have the feeling of like I'm taking something and running with it. I want to honor you and what you've shared with me, and that's it.
Okay, cool. That sounds fun.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.